Oh boy, it's been a while since I've touched this project file. I've been busy with stuff, but I'm going back into finishing this up. So this is probably going to be the final episode of working on this Rumi remix, a nice little trilogy. So I haven't listened to this in forever. So why don't we just press play and listen to the whole thing first, okay?
I'm so fucking tired. Dream of being fired. Ay, look what I became. Ay, every day's the same. Feel so fucking basic. See the same old faces. Ay, I know that's just life. Ay, but I'm dying inside. And it isn't not a shame. Wishing we could just escape. Wishing we could just escape. Yeah, but when we out all night, do the shit we like. We living for that. We living for that. Yeah, when our song comes on and the prudes are gone, we living for that. We living for that. When we out all night, shit we like. When we out all night, shit we like. We out all night, shit we like. When we out all night. Wonder where my hopes went. Fucking disappointment. Ay, on a default track. Ay, never got 'em back. Save the bad for later. Cause I made a paper. Ay, didn't turn out right. Ay, we don't care tonight. And it isn't not a shame. Wishing we could just escape. Wishing we could just escape. Yeah, but when we out all night, do the shit we like. We living for that. We living for that. Yeah, when our song comes on and the prudes are gone, we living for that. We living for that. Yeah, when we out all night, shit we like. When we out all night, shit we like. We out all night, shit we like. When we out all night. And it isn't not a shame. Wishing we could just escape. Wishing we could just escape. Yeah, yeah, we need a fucking break. And you know we'll miss these days. And you know we'll miss these days. Yeah, but when we out all night, do the shit we like. We living for that. We living for that. Yeah, when our song comes on and the prudes are gone, we living for that. We living for that. Yeah, and we out, and we out, and we out, yeah.
Alright, well, not bad. Couple of things. I think you guys saw me pull up the notepad file and just immediately start writing stuff. So that's like usually what I do is like, especially after a break, that's really important, is like when you work on tracks, you really want to take a break, because as soon as you get accustomed to listening to the same thing over and over again after the course of many hours, you're sort of like getting contingent, I believe is the word, with everything. So sometimes taking a day of a break, a week of a break, is actually good for tracks anyways. Okay, I'm going to be doing a lot of my mixing with my speakers, so I'm going to have to switch between muting my mic and turning it on all the time. But for the most part, the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to check the chains on everything. I believe all the drums are just fine though, so we don't need any of this. But the thing we need to check is, oh, sorry, that's melee. The risers on the third build up.
Yeah, we need a fucking break. And you know we'll miss these days. And you know we'll miss these days, yeah. But when we
So there's something I'm not liking. I'm not sure. Maybe just the fact that this is still rising up. And I kind of don't like how this starts early, because I want it to happen on the second part or the second half of the build up. So I'm just gonna do it the lazy way and just do this to get it to fade in. And 3 risers all stacked together. I don't know how loud that gets, so let's check that.
we could just escape, yeah. Yeah, we need a fucking break. And you know we'll miss these days. And you know we'll miss these days, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better. So the problem was this uplifter or this riser was still going even after everything was supposed to stop. So that was an easy fix. We can get rid of this now. Okay, now I have to start removing frequencies and start cleaning the entire mix up. And that's, I don't know, it's sort of fun and sort of not fun. It's work, that's what it is. But I guess I'll show the process here. So first things first is I'm gonna sidechain the vocal to all the instruments, or no, sidechain the whichever order it is. Sorry. So I'm using TDR Nova. Let me just go back here. So this is a free plugin. It's a dynamic equalizer, so it kind of is very useful for doing this type of work. So we're just gonna set this to external sidechain for now, and then we're gonna head over to the vocals and we're gonna do a quick EQ check here to see where the vocal hits for the majority of the time. Find roomies of frequency range here.
Like we living for that. We living for that. Yeah. When us
Okay, so it's like around this range, like around 500 to 1,000-ish. We're going to take this band, set this to, I don't know, like 750, I guess. No, it's a little bit too high. Let's drop it down to 600. We're going to turn on the threshold, so this works like a compressor. So when the volume hits a certain volume, then it starts sidechaining. So we want to choose the vocals, and we can start with a 2-to-1, and I want the release to be a little bit shorter and the attack a little bit longer, and maybe we can tighten up the band here. So maybe we'll get like maybe we'll start with 1.5. Okay, I'm gonna mute my mic and I'm gonna check now. Alright, so when the vocals get loud and I need more presence, then this will take all of the instruments and just drop this range up to a decent amount. Alright, now that that's all settled though, I gotta go and take a look at every instrument here, so hopefully this will go well. Let's start with this guy. There's no processing on this one. So we can do a couple of things here. We can do the usual OTT to give it a little bit of presence. And then we'll check on the EQ. I'm not going to throw in like fancy EQ like Fab Filter or anything. I'm just going to... Okay, so there's a lot of low end here that I don't want. That's just adding some frequencies that I don't think I need at the moment. Here, let's see. This looks alright for now. Here's a piano. Why is this set so high? Oh, never mind, that's not it. What was I looking at then? Oh, I was looking at this one. And then this one's my low one. Because this is my low one, I might want to give a little bit more room under there, just right under this, cut right around the sub bass. Yeah, and then this is... Right, okay. Yeah, so the OTT makes it a little bit more lively with all the multi-band compression it gets, so I'm just gonna give it the same here. So before, And after, we have an ARP here. Sounds like we need more OTD. Or more sound goodizers. Oops, wrong plugin. Generally, I like giving around anywhere between 20 to 40%, oh, excuse me, 20 to 40% depth. And then if I have to, I'll just tweak the high, mids, and lows. But most of the time, I can just do that. So before and after. Okay, now verse pads. This is the one I'm like most finicky with because it's a really basic sound. So I really want it to have something going for it. Just small little adjustments. Super saw. Yeah, this is the one I'm most worried about. My question is, why does it sound so empty? Alright, that seems to be alright. And then the bass and sub bass I know I don't need to touch because I touched it a bunch of times in the second part. Now the vocals, because they were already like pre-mixed and the official acapella is just like the studio version, we don't really need to touch anything in that, but we do want to manipulate it a little bit, so I can get rid of that a little bit. And then this is, oh, did I even touch that? I don't even think I did. This lead here. I wonder if there's anything that we can change that could make it like slightly better. I don't really want to deal with the drive. You know what? I'm willing to accept it for the way it is. I love it, all the same, unconditionally. So we're just gonna leave it for that for now. I do have to make a new track. If you haven't noticed, I got rid of the lower octave vocal just because it just didn't sound good. It didn't contribute much. So I'm only keeping the high octave vocals. But what I want to do is, this one I want to shove a lot of reverb into. So why don't we use... I think maybe Valhalla, but I was thinking, where's native instruments? We're gonna throw in some RC48. Now, if you want to save on like CPU usage and RAM and your computer not taking a shit on itself, you would really want to be using a lot of send tracks to save up on that. But I like having specific reverbs and random stuff on every single instrument, so I don't know, like, so I just don't have any problems with throwing a separate reverb on everything. Plus I also upgraded my computer like last week, so I have even less of an incentive to. But yeah, if you have trouble processing a whole bunch of information in your DAW, either send and stem out the MIDIs and the plugins into a wave or something, or just use send tracks. But that's just me. Anyways, I don't like the chorus, how it just sort of there's like a bit of dead space when Rumi sings "Living for That."
We living for that. We living for that. Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take that part yeah, right here, and I'm just going to copy it right here. Obviously this is not perfect, so I'm just gonna adjust it right here, and then we will tail this off right around here, turn this off, get this to fade out, and oops, I don't need to lock that. And now I'm gonna mute my mic again, and I just want to show you the effect that I want. I want to give it an echo, essentially. So we're gonna throw in quite a large echo. Probably throw in I don't know, quite a lot of reverb mix in there. But importantly, because it's an echo, it also needs to be very quiet. It's not a repeat, it's an echo. So we'll probably high pass it to give it a little bit of that feel. Maybe actually we'll do one thing at a time. So I'm thinking, oops, sorry, I bumped my mic. Let's start with, yeah, -6 decibels here.
Like we living for that, we living for that, we living for that, we living for that.
That's all right.
We like we living for that, we living for that, we living for that, we living for that.
Oops, man, I knew this was gonna happen eventually. I accidentally forgot to unmute my mic, but I don't like how the yeah gets in the way, so I'm cutting it to here, and we're just gonna see how it goes.
Living for that, we living for that. When us we living for that, we living for that, we living for that, we living for that. When our song comes.
Oh, I'm kind of silly. I could have just done this, and that would have done everything. But I'm still gonna cut this off because I don't want all that noise from the echo here. So let's just cut this a little bit more. Fade this in. So let's see. Man, if there's only a way that I could make it go we live in and then just have that echo, that's gonna be tough. Maybe what we'll do also that might help is if we just threw in an echo as well. Make it a little bit purposed for that reason. Let's see.
We living for that. Yeah. We living for that. We living for that. We living for that. We living for that. Yeah. When
things to think about. But I need to do this with the rest of the chorus just for consistency's sake.
We living for that.
Oh, well, what do you know? In the second chorus, it was so nice that they just give it to us. I guess Rumi knew what he was doing, except I wanted it to happen there as well. So maybe, nah, we can't.
On and the prudes are gone. On and the living for that. We living for that. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna take this sample and I'm gonna put it here instead.
For that. We living for that. We living for that. Yeah.
Just turn all of this off for now.
Living for that. Living for that. We living for that. Yeah.
Lower this.
For that.
It needs to be subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. And I'm okay with the second part not having any echo since it's about to be the drop. But now I want I want it to be a bit cleaner. Maybe fade it out.
For that. When we are for that. When we are.
Yeah, there we go. Now into the second chorus.
We living for that. Yeah. When we are.
Just clean it up a tiny bit on the tail end.
Yeah. When we are.
Maybe fade it out sooner because we want this part to be present, so we don't want as much volume.
Yeah. When we are.
Yeah, there we go. That's a lot better. This is just a bunch of noise. We'll cut this so it's a little bit more precise.
In the days and in the days and
Maybe fade it in.
in the days and night.
Yeah, that's a bit better. Man, I still love this chop. Da 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 da. Oh, that's like my most favorite thing out of everything right now. I'm trying my best not to touch the vocals as much as possible because like it's the studio acapella, so it's already been mixed and all that stuff. So if like there's ever a problem with my mix, it has to be like everything else. That's why like there's not many effects on any of these, and if there are, it's because it's the vocal chops. Oh boy, things are a huge mess. So you know what it's time to do? It's time to bounce all of this stuff out because I don't think I need to change how anything sounds in regards of wavetables or just patches or anything. So we're gonna go export everything so that everything's easier to manage. First things first, I'm going to save a copy of this, and this is gonna be called for that remix mix. Yeah. Now what I have to do is I am gonna have to individually take out and export each and every instrument, and then we'll start mixing and fine-tuning everything. I want to export in wave 24-bit def. Technically I should do 32, but I don't think I really need it. Now I'm questioning it. Oh, what the hell, we'll do 32 just cause that if we get any clipping or weird volume things, we can just adjust it without any penalty. Alright, create a new folder called mix stems or whatever, and then we'll call this the kick, and then every instrument. I'll be back. Alright, I have imported all of the sends into the project file. Now, there's a couple of ways to do it. I just do it like this because it's organized for me. A lot of what people will do is that they'll actually record into an audio track and do it in sections or whatever. There's many ways to do this, but this is just the way I do it. So all of these clips are not edited in any way, so I have to unwarp everything and put them all into starting at 0. So we're just going to do that to quickly organize. So it's just simple as that. Unwarp, drag it all down, unwarp, drag it all down. Oh yeah, one thing I actually forgot to do. I don't know why I forgot to, because I normally do this, but when I export, I usually turn off everything that's in the group chain, right? But in this case, I only turned off the utility, so everything has sidechain, and I could technically just turn this off now, which is, it's alright, but I wish these stems had no effects on them in this group here, but I can work with this, it's fine. Okay, there we go. I didn't do anything with the vocals, just because they were already audio files. If I really wanted to be thorough, I would export out everything. Probably this would be one export, this would be another export, and then these would probably be their own export or separate exports. But just because they're already audio files, it doesn't matter to me. All right, now that everything's in, this is the part that like hurts me the most, is that I actually have to, or I don't technically have to, but it's better for me to just delete all of it. This is why I saved a second copy, because if I want to do anything with the notes or the patches, I can just go back to that file, re-export it, and then re-import it into this. So this is like strictly a mixing phase of the production process now. So now that everything's all imported, I have to cut out everything so that we don't have a bunch of noise in all of I'm sorry, what? It's so that when the audio is silent, it's dead silent, because I believe if you eventually export all of this all the way, and how did this turn into this file? What? ALC file Ableton. Huh. I'm cutting off as much as I possibly can off of these audio files when they're silent, because apparently, or not apparently, but so I've read that if you have silence in a WAV file and you bring up the volume, you could actually like have some noise in there. I think that's a result of if you have dithering on your tracks though. And I don't have any dithering on it, so may not happen, but I just do this just to be safe. So I'm leaving a bit of tail end on these audio clips because I know there's reverb, on the ends of a lot of these instruments, so I'm trying to be a little bit generous with the timing, and I just have to go over that eventually. But all of this is, you know what, I'll just cut it right around here for now. Now that everything has been cut, it sort of looks like this. Now I can test and see, say, for example, in the drop, if everything still sounds very similar. It's alright. And I can double check if everything actually has been sidechained by accident by just soloing the instruments. Yeah, you could hear it. First step is to double check all the EQ with everything. There's a bit of low end on this guy here, so I want to cut that off so I can clean it up a little bit. So maybe around here. This looks pretty good. I don't mind a little low end there just because it's not too big of a problem considering the rest of what's playing at the moment. Could fill in that space a little bit because we don't have a bassy-ish floor, if that makes sense. Here though, I do want to cut just to clean it up a little bit. Looks alright. There's a little bit of low end here, so I'm gonna cut it a little right here, just to make sure that it really isn't any, there isn't any noise. You can see all the frequencies that are getting cut out, which is good. How I'm feeling about this track right now is that I am basically on the verge of, like, making it sound really, really crappy, and I'm just band-aiding everything right now with, like, EQ and compression and OTTs, because I feel like naturally the sounds I picked aren't, like, super, super good. So I'm a little bit worried now. But I'll keep going and see how this goes. So I don't mind the pads actually having all this low end because at the moment there's nothing going on. I might have to change that decision later. But the interesting thing is because I exported this, I can actually see. So this is why I exported everything to waves and audio, because I can just cut the audio off and there's no tail end. Unless I want like a tiny bit of it, and I can control it this time around now. So if I want just the tiniest little bit of a tail end, I can do that. Rather than changing like the automation on the reverb and all that stuff, it's easier to do it like this. So let's see. Yeah, I think that's better than if I left it out like this. It's barely noticeable, but it's the little things. And then same idea with here, so like all this volume would add up with the verse pads here. So let's see. So maybe. Oh, that's a problem. So maybe we'll just make the fade out. Maybe a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. I really wish I have the drive to work on this some more. I don't think it's my best work, really. But I don't want to dwell too much into this project because this was supposed to be something fun and just to show my friend how I do my production stuff. But normally if this was, say, an original, I would probably just go back to the other project file and just retweak everything. I'm not saying this is bad, but I don't think this is, like, amazing, you know? And that kind of sucks. What I'm essentially doing is just cleaning up all the tail ends of all the audio files that I didn't bother to do initially in the original project file. It's kind of crude, I know. Now that everything is all nice and trimmed and EQ checked, now is basically the time where I'm going to just try to make everything sound decent, so I'm gonna need to use my monitors. Like I said, something that's very important to do is to use your reference track, especially when you get to the mixing stage. So I'm gonna be using, again, this track, which is copyrighted, so that I can't use it. But a really good tool that I like to use is just Span to check my EQ and stuff. Or just another fab filter. It really doesn't matter. Like, both work the same. But the goal is basically you want to play through, I don't know, say the drop of the reference track, look at the EQ, and then play my drop and look at the EQ and see if there's anything different and whatever, and then try to match it by raising the volume of certain things or compressing it a bit more or taking stuff out. All right, this is what I did to work around the copyright thing. So I went into the drop and I took a screenshot of the EQ. You can see it's actually kind of flat on the low end, but it sounds so faux, so I gotta figure out how they managed to do that. And then we can see like there's a couple peaks here, maybe probably just because of the instrumentation and all that. So this is the reference track and this is mine. So there's some elements that aren't poking out, but more or less this isn't bad. This track is in C major and this is in B major, so you can see the sub bass is just slightly pushed up here, and then this is a bit on the lower end. So I have to essentially, let's see, I need to raise the mid-range-ish and then lower the high range a slightly little bit. So that's what I'm gonna try and do. Oh yeah, and I forgot, the reference track in this one has a female singer, whereas Rumi is, you know, obviously not female. So that also has to be put into thought as well. So we're mixing for Rumi's vocals, not the reference track's vocals. So I have to keep that in mind. You know what? I think I want to turn this back on just to add just a little bit more reduction around this frequency. Just because a lot of stuff happens and I really want the vocal chunk to come out. Also, this is a really good example of why I liked exporting and then cutting stuff out. You can see in this file there's a little bit of the reverb tail here, but if I just do that and then it just shuts off there. Yeah, like I said, it's a crude way of doing it, but it's also a nice lazy way of doing it. And I could even just make this fade off even more, considering this is to the drop and it's supposed to go into silence. Which is nice because the main focus of the bar before the drop is supposed to be the vocals here. So that helps a lot. The second drop gets the same treatment as well. In the third drop, I'm actually gonna leave as much as possible because I kind of want the result of all these synths and whatever just letting go, and then just letting all the release timings and reverb or whatever just fill up that like space, and you're just supposed to hear that, and then out of nowhere. And then, yeah. Although I'm not the biggest fan of how, maybe, I'm not a big fan of the riser timing right now. Maybe just a little bit more. Yeah, there we go, that's better. I think my main problem is just that, like, the drop just doesn't punch enough. Like, I really want the super saws, the bass, and the kick. As soon as, like, they hit it, they just hit hard. So I gotta figure out how that's gonna happen, but I gotta go eat, so I will BRB. Oh yes, while I'm doing this, there's also one more thing I have to check, and that is my peak levels. So in the drop, I'm aiming for -6 because I want 6 decibels of headroom to work with when I do the master. That's not anywhere close. In fact, I'm almost about to hit 0. So that's a problem. So I have to figure out how to reduce instead of add. So that's something good to know. So I have to figure out what I want to reduce, how I'm going to do it. There's an obvious volume difference between the drop kicks and snares compared to the verse. So maybe also, you know, when I'm checking, these are single-handedly hitting -5. But this is a pretty loud part in the track because the crash is hitting and everything's like going off, and yeah, that's a problem. What if I remove the crash? What do we get? -5? Yeah, so that's a kick and snare problem here. Maybe we'll drop this down 3, maybe. Okay, now that's a bit too low, so maybe we'll bump it down to here. That might do it. Wait, that's not super bad. I think from the looks of this waveform, I kind of want to compress it just to squash a little bit of the dynamics. And also in response, I also can lower the volume a little bit. So essentially what the mixing process to me is like sort of a puzzle where I have to just figure out how to hit the right volume levels and EQ levels that I want while making everything still sound good. I can't hear it with these headphones. I gotta use my freaking monitors. Why is it on this part? Not even on the loudest part of the drop. Is it because of these guys? I might have to layer these a little bit better then. Let's see. I have this guy going at pretty loud volumes. I have this guy going even louder. Oh, no. Same. I will start with lowering these guys just a little bit more, and we'll see how that goes first. Still peaking at 4. I know there's a lot of other stuff going on. So maybe, at least we know that's sort of like fixing the problem, which means what I can do here is I can just apply the same changes I made in the first drop to the second drop. So what was this? Minus what? -2, -2. Okay, so this needs to be -2, and this needs to be -2. Wait a minute, I was supposed to go eat. After a little bit of looking around, what I did was I reduced the volumes of the drums during the drop, and I also reduced the volumes of my crash because I feel like they just like cut so they were so loud, and I also made them fade a little bit in so like the attack on it doesn't just explode in my face basically. That sounded wrong. I think one of the biggest culprits is this lead right here and this art. And this. So the problem with these is that while they sound nice, they're sort of adding more to the noise, right? So the problem with all of this is maybe I need to lower these just a little bit more. Like marginally like quieter. So now if I play from say the second drop, let's see. Oops, I soloed it, so let's try again. So at the it's hitting -7.7 and then immediately going up to -5. But it's already a lot better. -6 the ballpark. I'm okay with going over by like at most 1 decibel. and a little bit more there. But generally speaking, I would need to work on not making everything just super loud and in the space of everything. I don't know. I've been told like to start with -10 on everything to create enough headroom. But if all this mixing ends up with, you know, -5, then maybe I have to reduce everything by just a little bit more. Let's see what happens if I just bring everything down to -11 now. Oh, okay, so now there's quite a bit of headroom now. And I guess the important thing about all of this is using my Focusrite. For those that don't know, I actually have a dedicated sound card, and this is why it's super good to have one, is because while you're mixing at this level, it can get pretty quiet. And if you have like regular headphones or using Windows sounds, like you can't really push it any higher than like what Windows can do. But the card and the monitors and the headphones and the volume knobs on the Focusrite or just any sound card allows it so that I can just turn up the volume and make it sound really loud without actually needing to raise the volume in the project. So I can work on the loudness and mixing at a very good volume while not actually hitting or clipping the DAW. Wait, I still haven't eaten. Fuck! After one big dinner, I feel very full and bloated, so I don't know how much I can talk. I want to show one thing, because I'm kind of proud of this. I'm going to play the drop, and I want you to look at the EQ and just remember what the pictures looked like. Not bad, right? Not bad at all. That's pretty darn close to what I wanted. And look, I peaked at -4. Wait, what? Okay. Oh, now it's at -5-ish. I added back a little bit of volume to individual tracks here and there. Like, for example, let's say, these vocal chops, I sort of brought them back up, and the saw bass, I added a little bit of saturation and cleaned it up a little tiny bit, and then my sub bass, I boosted it just a little bit more. I think I want to boost it a little bit on top of that. Actually, I don't even technically need to do that. What I could just do here is boop, and that would have taken care of it. After a bunch of time listening to it and comparing it to the reference tracks and some other tracks as well, I'm actually like pretty happy about it. I'm more impressed by the fact that I didn't need to throw in like a bajillion EQ fixes and a bunch of multi-band compression or whatever to make the whole thing sound nice. Honestly, after I ate, I feel a lot better about everything. And that may have just shifted my mood towards the track. I'm just going to set all of my groups to -12, and that will take care of probably the headroom that I need. I like that little voice crack. Probably. Yeah. And then I'm sure like a couple bars later it's going to bounce like 5.4 maybe or something. Hey, I wasn't that far off actually. Okay, so it's right around the ballpark that I want for mastering, and honestly I don't think I really need to change much. If time permits, I'm gonna play through this with a full listen just to hear how it sounds.
Fucking tired, dream of being fired. Ay, look what I became. Ay, every day's the same. Feel so fucking basic. See the same old faces. Ay, I know that's just life. Ay, but I'm dying inside. In the days and not ashamed. Wishing we could just escape. Wishing we could just escape. Yeah, but when we out all night, do the shit we like, we live never got him back. Save the bad for later, 'cause I made a paper, I didn't turn out right, we don't care tonight, and it is another shame. Wishing we could just escape, wishing we could just escape, yeah. But when we out all night, do the shit we like, we living for that, we living for that, yeah. When our song comes on and the fruits are gone, we living for that, we living for that, yeah. When we out all night, shit we like, when we out all night, shit we like, we out all night, shit we like, when we out all night, and it is another shame. Wishing we could just escape, wishing we could just escape, yeah. Yeah, we need a fucking break, and you know we'll miss these days, and you know we'll miss these days, yeah. But when we out all night, do the shit we like, we living for that, we living for that, yeah. When our song comes on and the fruits are gone, we living for that, we living for that, yeah. And we out, and we
You know, for a remix that was born out of making like another track that was going to be on my album, what am I talking about? It is on my album. I actually am really excited about this. I've listened to this Midnight Kids track like, I probably 200 times by now, and I still cannot seem to get my mixes as tight as theirs. They have this thing with their bass where it just hits the midsection so well, and it has so much presence that I can't seem to replicate it. And it's alright, but it's certainly not Midnight Kids, which is what I was going for. I do want to make one little adjustment because by bridge 3, I'm already hearing like so much of the same stuff. I want this lead to actually be present.
and it is another shame. Wishing we could just escape, wishing we could just escape, yeah. Yeah, we need a fucking break, and you know we'll miss these days, and you know we'll miss these days, yeah.
Maybe something like that.
And it is another
And I
shame,
think I'd raise the volume
and it is
here.
another shame. Wishing we could just escape, wishing we
Yeah,
could just
there we go.
escape,
Now it has some presence. And I think that's the only thing I want to change in the entire thing. I'm pretty happy about this now. Alright, well, I think that's more or less it for the remix. Now we just gotta take care of a couple things now. I'm going to export the entire mix out for mastering. But if this was an original track, what I would actually do is I would re-export all of these stems, maybe like condense them into like fewer tracks. Like for example, I could probably condense all of the drums into one track, and I could maybe do like the arps and the pads and the super saws all together, or just something like that. I do that for originals because it's easier to bring stuff back, and like for example, if I want to do live versions of them or mix my own songs, it's so much easier to do them with stems than like the original tracks or the full tracks. But since this is a remix and this is someone else's work, I don't really have the necessity to create stems for this track. So we're just going to export this, and again, no dither. Well, you can't even choose a dither option with 32-bit. That's actually cool to know. So I have the entire thing selected. I'm just gonna hit export, living for that mix or whatever, it doesn't really matter. And the best part about this is that the rendering doesn't take as long as the first time around because there's no MIDI, VST, effects chains, or anything to process. It's all audio, so it's really quick. With the new export, it's time to open up a new live set, and I technically could just do this whole thing from the mix. Actually, wait, yeah, you know what? That's the whole reason why I started making a second thing. I completely forgot about this, my bad. I was watching like a bunch of mastering tutorials and then like how they would essentially export the mix and then send it to the mastering engineer, and then the mastering engineer would take that mix wave file and then work with it. But since we're mixing it and mastering it, we could just do it in the same project file. So there's not much to my mastering method. The important thing what I do nowadays is I have Ulean. This is a free plugin that checks your loudness, and I have Span. These are the two plugins I use to check everything at the very last bit, but the thing I actually use to master is Isotope Ozone 7. I don't have Ozone 8 or Ozone 9 full, so I just stick with 7. Now, the thing about mastering to me is mastering is just about loudness and getting the volumes at the correct peaks and LUFS values and whatever. If there's something wrong with, say, like the EQ or the compression on something, I don't like to do it on the master chain. I firmly believe that it's a mixdown problem, and then mastering should just strictly be a loudness thing. So that's why the only thing I ever use when I master is a maximizer. I actually didn't start doing this until like very, very recently when I actually started working on new music and stuff like that, and I ended up learning a whole bunch by watching tutorials and such. Anyway, so really all I do is I double check my peak, and I just do it through, like, say, listening to the drop. You can see it's about -4. Yeah, I think -4 is roughly about that volume that I need to boost up. Oh wait, I could have checked it from here. Alright, -3.9, so maybe I'll just boost it by 3. For the ceiling, I set to -0.3 decibels. I forget the reason why, but it's something like, so we're not actually like true hitting 0 or something like that, but like I think I just picked it up off of watching a tutorial and I just stuck to that ever since. And I want the drop to be approaching this -0.3 as much as possible, or as close as possible, so I'm gonna drop this down to, like, I don't know, -4 maybe? That's nice and all, but the rest of the drop is not actually hitting there, so I'm gonna push the threshold down even more. With the input and output volumes, I'm not super sure on what's like good to do and what's not good to do, but generally I try not touching the output, and the input I try to just boost it until it's close to like 0 or whatever. I just try to make the maximizer do most of the work, if anything. Now, I'm not necessarily sure if this is the correct setting, so this is why I look at, not Span, where's Ulean? Right here. And basically what I look for is the LUFS value, the integrated LUFS value. Normally everyone preaches you want -14 LUFS and whatever, but I actually ended up watching a tutorial that basically proved that it's not necessarily true. The reason why you want to hit -14 integrated LUFS is because you don't want to have a loudness penalty from streaming sites like Spotify, YouTube, Apple, and all that stuff. This is the tutorial I watched about the subject matter. It's by Raw Technique Studios. Basically, they got a bunch of music and put it through FabFilter, and it showed that the integrated LUFS was nowhere near -14, and it was like -8, -10, so on and so forth.
Kyle,
Oh, sorry. That -14 LUFS value is just it's a soft rule. I have to play through the entire track and let Ulean measure my entire integrated LUFS, and I'll see what my value is and adjust accordingly. All right, -12. Interesting. Throughout the entire track, I noticed that I could maybe add in a little bit more input. So I might just do that. At this point, I'm not really so sure about any of this, but I basically will just be playing this over and over again and adjusting a couple of things here and there. But last thing I want to do, I don't like how in the mix, sometimes the vocals in the drop get lost. This specifically. So you know what I want? I might just want to... maybe it's because I'm using Little Altar Boy, or maybe like I'm just doing something wrong. I think what I'll do is I'll just change these. So do that. Oh, okay. I want to get rid of that. I think I ended up reducing too much. I think maybe a little bit of compression would help with the presence of it. Maybe OTT. Alright, I'm just gonna check a really quick EQ thing. Okay, I think I know what the problem is. I need a second TTR Nova. And what I need to do is I need to bump this over to like the 1000 hertz range-ish. Because that's where Rumi's voice is actually hitting around. That way, during the drop, it's pulling around this range and giving the vocals a bit more room. So maybe now. Oh, that's much better. Holy crap. Yeah, now it's pulling. Yeah, I like that a lot more. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I'll just pull the threshold like all the way down here so you could hear it. So now you can hear the difference. And to be absolutely certain about the frequencies, I'm trying to listen for the middle of the frequencies where the vocal's actually present? Is that the word? I'm gonna say it's around the 1.3K range. So I'm going to just go ahead and adjust that in this TR Nova, and we'll do 1300. And now... Oh my god, that's so much more present. There is one little change I did though. I took this vocal chop counter track and took it out of the group because I ended up deciding it doesn't need the OTT and the compression. And because I changed something in Isotope and I changed a little minor thing on the mix, I'm going to run it through all over again just to double check my volumes and everything. Normally, you're not supposed to do the mixing and mastering process at the same time. But in this context, for me, it sort of works just because the whole purpose of mastering is just to bring the volume back up for the most part, and I'm not actually doing any EQing or compression or whatever on the master chain. It's all right, but I don't think people would think highly of me if watching this. I'm sure as I learn more about music production and get better at it, I'll start squashing bad habits and like lazy strategies and stuff like that. But for now, this will be fine. -11. You know what? I'm okay with that. So you know what? I'm gonna keep this setting for now, and I'm going to export this as the master. 24-bit depth, triangular dither, and go. Amyte remix mastered. We'll add Lil Pitchy. And there we go. Yay! So there we have it. The fully mastered, completed remix. Although there's one little thing that I would rather do. I'm going to open up Audacity. Yeah, I know it's kind of tacky to use it, but I'm just going to shove it right in here and take a look at the waveform. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way it looks. Yeah, I'm pretty happy about it then, in that case. So, all that's left to do is release it, which, tomorrow after this video goes up, it will be on the YouTube channel. Hope you enjoyed watching this. This was really messy for me. Never tried this before. I've cut out a lot of me going back and forth between things, and I may have simplified a lot of other things in this process of the video. But generally speaking, this is currently my workflow. Who knows what it will be when I get better and make more music and refine my stuff and whatever. But I'm excited, and I hope you enjoyed it I hope you enjoyed this little series. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye. Take care.
We are